Triumphant chaos is your place for hope and healing, 'cause you got this, girl.
Here's Patricia with a Y with today's episode.
And here we are with Staci Gustiuc, who is a coach. She has a site called Big Dreams and Big Hearts, and she has a story of triumph to share with us today. So Staci, last time we spoke, you told me a little bit about your past. I was wondering if you could just, talk about where you came from, and then we'll talk about where you are now.
Sure. Thanks for having me. I was in a toxic and abusive relationship for a little bit over 5 years, and I didn't even realize I was in one for a lot of that time. When I looked around at my close friends, their relationship was pretty similar to what I was going on, so I just felt like it was kind of, normal. I didn't really realize the severity of it until much later, and then once I had my daughter, which was about 4.5 years into the relationship, that's really when my eyes were open to what I was really doing, what I was allowing and settling for. And just I guess it hit me in the face like, if I don't put a stop to this could very well be my daughter's future. This could be the relationship that she has. And that was very scary for me.
And that is a very common thing. First of all, not realizing that you're in a toxic abusive relationship. I know that in my talking to people that a lot of times we tend to hang out with people who have similar relationships to us. I mean, it's safer for the men to keep us around these women and friends who do not have great relationships, because if we're comparing, it doesn't sound like it's anything outside of normal. And it's when we've just, discover healthy friends. And of course, one of those big things that gets it in our heads is having babies, having children, and starting to put them in our space and realizing that's not what I want for my child. Why am I accepting it for myself? And so that's a very common thing. So you got out of it. Did you have to go through services in order to get out, or were you able to leave in a relatively nonviolent way?
I was able to leave in a relatively nonviolent way. To be honest, I was not very honest with him in order to leave. I had told him, we needed to separate, and then I was going to go live with a friend, and, he could do with what he wanted with the apartment. I was just going to leave everything. In all reality, I moved to another state, 8 hours away with my daughter. We moved in with my mom and slept on her couch for months and months and months. So not telling him where I was going made it easier for me to leave and not have to have a conflict. So that was beneficial. And then living with my mom helped me financially be able to get back on my feet, which took a little while.
And it can often take a little while to get back on your feet. So from your mom's couch to now you're a coach and you are in a loving relationship. And so life has turned around since that point 4.5 years ago. How did you get there?
Sometimes I look back and wonder how, wow, my life is extremely different from 4-6 years ago. How did I get there? Well, moving away obviously was a big factor in that. Just totally taking myself away to where I had some time for myself to kind of get clear on what did I want. I was not really sure. At that point, I didn't have a lot of big dreams while I was in that relationship. So I really had to learn how to start from zero. And what did I want for myself, and how was I going to get there? I was able to surround myself with positive friends that had positive relationships, so I was able to see what that looked like, and that was possible for me. I did not have to keep settling like I believed I did for such a long time. That was really beneficial. And I started going to college. I had already done some college, but I got really serious about it. I had spent years and years and years going part-time. But when I moved, I moved in September and I enrolled in January full-time. And I finished in the 2-year time period. But before that, I had gone for years and years and years. Ended up taking me a total of 8 years to get an associate's degree. So I didn't get serious about it until I left that relationship. And accomplishing that was a big thing. I was a first generation graduate, and that led me to go on and accomplish my bachelor's in psychology. And the more I achieved, the more capable I began to see that I was of doing big things in my life, and that was also showing my daughter what was possible. You know, I feel like in toxic abusive relationships, we get they make us feel empty inside, like there's not really anything in there. And we tend to look outside of ourselves to try to fill that up, but that doesn't get us anywhere. It just leaves us in the same thing over and over. It's when you start to look inside of you that you begin to fill back up. And that played a very big part in my building my life to be in a better place. And I also felt like if I could stay in that relationship for all of those years and survive all of that stress and turmoil and abuse, you know, I made it. I'm still here. So all I did was add character and give me strength to be more and do better with my life.
That is such an awesome story, and that is such a great discovery that you made about, we do talk about that hole inside ourselves and the emptiness, and to know that the answers really are inside, that they aren't in all those outside places. I remember actually there's a point where I was in therapy, and my therapist asked, why do you always look to experts in everything? And, you know, do you realize that you're the expert in yourself? So that is a very key thing that we learn through the recovery process. And so you have now a website that helps other people to achieve their dreams. So tell us a little bit about that.
I founded Big Dreams and Big Hearts because I felt like for a long time I didn't have big dreams. I had a big heart, but I didn't have big dreams. And I think that was due to the situation, you know, that I was in. And I feel like once we remove ourselves from that, it's like a whole new world opens up as far as dreams. So I'm all about using my story and my experiences to help other women fulfill their big dreams. And, you know, everyone was created with a purpose. Sometimes it takes a little time to figure out what that purpose is, but I believe all that stuff that we went through in our past was preparing us. So being able to look back and see, I didn't go through all of that for nothing. You know, it helped me, and it can help a lot of other women who have been in similar situations. So it's all about, you know, helping women who struggle with fear, whether of whatever that may be, leaving a relationship, or a fear of just how you're going to look in front of other people, or what if I go for my dreams and I fail, or, you know, anything that to help those people become confident and dream big and stand in their own power. Because I feel like those are three things that are struggles for us, people who've been in toxic abusive relationships. It's all about giving back and helping other people accomplish their dreams.
That is awesome. And I'm so glad with this show I've been able to meet such incredible women who have been through tough times like you have, and who have discovered those secrets, because it is out there for those of you who are still struggling or wondering whether it is worth it to make those decisions. It is worth it. There is freedom on the other side, and there is so much more on the other side. There are dark days in between. You went through them, you know, sleeping on your mom's couch, being 8 hours from where you'd lived before, and having to make those new friends and those new relationships. Those are scary, scary things. But on the other side of those scary things is a life you couldn't have imagined before.
Abundance, really, I feel like. I was reading a book by Steve Chandler called Fearless. And he was saying that fearless is doing what you think ought to be done. So not that you're not scared to do it, but, you know, like it applies in that relationship that I was in. I knew I needed to leave. I knew for a long time I was just scared to do it. You know, how will I live my life without that person, even though it's not healthy? Will I make it on my own? You can totally make it on your own. You'll far exceed any situation you were in with them, without them. It's like a whole new
And
world.
one thing I'd like to point out that I discovered afterwards is that you aren't on your alone. You aren't alone after you leave. There is so much support out there. There are so many people who will guide you, mentor you, help you. There are, one of the lies that we're told when we're in these relationships is that nobody likes us and that we aren't worth the time and that we are alone. And that is a huge lie. That's one of the things that we discover on the other side is that we aren't alone, and you don't have to think that, you may be without that person, but you aren't without support, and it will be healthier support, and it'll be more in your best interests than anything an abuser can throw at you.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. They're there to show you things that you aren't even able to see. They can open up your eyes to a lot of opportunity that's in front of you that you haven't realized prior.
And it is hard to realize in the darkness. Thank you so much, Staci, for sharing your story and for the work that you are doing with Big Dreams and Big Hearts, because, this is all part of it. The community of survivors coming together to provide our little bits and pieces of what can help that next generation come forth and break free, and hopefully break free sooner and more abundantly than we have been able to do in the past. Because now that we have survivors and people that have shown the way, hopefully there will be less people getting into bad relationships in the first place and getting out of them before they cause as much harm as they can. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you.
You can't keep me down, tied up and bound, stuck to the ground. 'Cause guess what? I found my crown. Dreams never drown. What's been lost has been found. So watch me fly to my freedom. Triumphant tales is your place for hope and healing. 'Cause you got this, girl.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Triumphant Tales. While you're still pumped up from this episode, be sure to write down your Triumph task and connect at patricia.com for this week's Triumph tools. Until next time, stay safe and think free.